Hey guys, I've been saying I was gonna make this video for a while now. There are a few things that I want to discuss in general as well as personal things that have been going on with me. Some issues that have been occurring not just in myself but in the world today, things that we experience not only as women but as human beings that are kind of like taboo topics. So I guess I'll just dive right in because one of the main people that I've been working with who's also been, kind of exploiting this idea of taboo topics is Alandria Lloyd. I know a lot of people are familiar with her now. She is the CEO of the Writer's Block. And no, I don't mean CEO to say that she's not a CEO. I mean CEO because I don't know if that's what she calls it, but she was the one, who coined it, who developed it. It's her baby, the Writer's Block. She hosts a ton of services. I'll tag her link so that you guys could, explore that for yourselves, especially if you're interested in writing. She is a writing coach and she is awesome. But I worked with her on a project called Dear Young Woman. The sequel is coming out soon. I'll also be partnering with her on that. And I just wanted to share with you guys. I'll specifically read my chapter to y'all, so it's kind of like a tell-all, kind of like a spoiler. It's a spoiler. It's what it is. So I'm going to give you guys a spoiler just because I definitely want to encourage you guys to read the book. And it kind of opens up about the personal things that I'm going to talk about, because for me, what I shared in this book is the one thing that's kind of opened me up to definitely begin my healing process, because it's something that occurred years ago that I was never able to talk about. So like I said, let's get right to those taboo topics. So here's the book, Dear Young Woman. That's the cover. These are selling for $20, I believe. I'll tag the link so you guys can get a copy. I'm excited. This is a anthology, which is a compilation of different authors sharing their personal stories. My personal insight of it is, if you've ever heard of chicken noodle soup for the soul, this is our version of chicken noodle soup for the soul. So I'm super excited about it. I'm definitely thrilled that we're doing a sequel. We get the opportunity to share more topics, hear from more people, and I definitely encourage you guys to get a copy. Okay, so my chapter is the final chapter, which why I feel like it's even more relevant that I share it with you guys, because it's the final chapter. So if you don't make it to it, you get to hear it. I'll be honest, I was a little upset at first about me being like the final chapter. But then I thought about the Bible verse. And the first shall be last, and vice versa. So here we go. The title of my chapter is entitled Nothing Happened. And reading. My sisters and I were at our neighbor's house getting our hair done. I was asked to go into the room across the hall to grab some hair products. When I entered the room, he came in behind me and shut the door. He tackled me and wrestled me to the floor. He held his hand over my mouth as he attempted to undress me. I quickly became emotional as I imagined what was going to happen next. I started crying and pleading for him to stop. Seeing how hysterical I had become, he ceased and began to apologize. I was so frantic that I ran out of the house. In the following weeks, I tried to avoid him, which was very hard because he frequently visited my boy cousin. I decided not to speak of the incident because, after all, nothing had really happened. I still felt very uncomfortable around him. He would always stare and smile when he saw me. Again, I never spoke a word. He, however, decided to dispel his love for me to my boy cousin. As if it wasn't hard enough having to be around the guy, my cousins began to tease me about how in love B was with me. Eventually, I allowed my fear to dissipate. Somehow, I reasoned that it was just a misunderstood boyhood crush. After all, nothing had really happened. Summer 2005, we spent many days home alone, just my two sisters, older cousins, and me. My older sister and boy cousin had a bad habit of playing tricks on my little sister and me. Perhaps this time the trick just went a little too far. I'm paraphrasing because it's my story. My grandparents were gone for the day, and despite being told that we could not have company, the boy next door came over to play video games. My sisters and I were sitting on the couch watching television when he walked into the house. Obviously, still uncomfortable, I retreated to my bedroom. "Denise, come here," my cousin yelled. I reluctantly walked back into the living room and stood back from my cousin's bedroom door. "B just wanted to say hey," he said. I turned around to walk off. "Hey, come back here. Why you can't speak?" I reluctantly said hi. After a few hours, I ventured back into the living room and started playing with my siblings and cousins. "Denise, B wants to talk to you. I think you guys should go into the room and talk." "No, thank you," I said as I began to head back towards my room. As I attempted to retreat, my cousin grabbed me and began to drag me into his room. I fought playfully, but I had let my guard down. As the door locked with both of us on the inside, my mind began to wander. He let me go last time. He knows I'm not interested in him. He isn't going to hurt me, I thought. He tried to kiss me, and I fell into the bed while attempting to push him away. My body froze as the scene unfolded. I didn't scream. I didn't say stop. I just lay there as tears rolled down my cheeks. He pinned me down with one hand and undressed me with the other. He began to whisper in my ear about how I'd been teasing him for months. I recall thinking when he couldn't actually get it in that I could grab the lamp from the dresser and hit him across the head. But instead, I didn't move and he raped me. When he was done, I simply lay there until he fixed himself and left the room. Then I went into my room and cried myself to sleep. When I woke up, my grandmother was home. I replayed the events in my head as reality sank in. I was hurt, embarrassed, afraid, and completely in shock. The hours after I told her what had happened were a blur. She called the police and fear began to consume me. What now? I thought. The officer questioned us about the events that had taken place. He replied, "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Reluctantly, I said yes. I don't know how I knew, but I felt like they didn't believe I was being truthful. As the officer went next door to take a statement from B, my grandmother began to question me. I'm not sure that I actually heard the words that were coming out of her mouth, but the invalidation set in. To further negate my statement, the officer returned in pure disbelief. "Ma'am, are you sure that the boy next door did this? He's a little fella," the officer said. I felt my heart drop to my stomach. Not only was I raped, but neither my grandmother nor the investigating officer believed me. It took me over 10 years to accept, 1, something did happen, and 2, it was not my fault. For years, I walked around silent, angry, fearful, and misunderstood. In high school, I was easy because I never wanted to experience that entire process ever again. Your story may not be my story, but we all have a story to tell. Emotions, thoughts, and fears are all secondary to being. We exist, thus we must learn to coexist with what and how we feel and think. Many of us live in bondage to the ability to discuss things that have happened to us. Yet we continually feel and think and respond based on our experiences. Dear young woman, you may have been silenced, but your freedom is found in your words. Please realize that no matter how long you have been in bondage, it does not mean that you have to stay there. We can define what we go through by calling it purpose, or we can continue to allow it to define us by taking on the labels of our circumstances. I refuse to be labeled as a victim of sexual abuse. However, I continuously re-victimize myself by choosing to willingly have sex when I in fact did not want to. I was a child when the initial incident took place, but as I matured, I began to understand that I no longer had to accept that nothing happened. No, I am not a survivor because I do not simply survive. No, I am not a survivor because I did not, and I did say do, because things have happened to me past then, but we'll get into that later. But like I said, I'm not a survivor because I didn't simply survive that abuse. I thrived in spite of it, and I'm continually thriving. And my hope is as we share and as we talk and we discuss these taboo topics, you guys can thrive too. Thanks for listening.